We welcome in this segment Gary Griffith. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome.
Hi, good morning. How is Tobago?
Tobago is fine, doing quite fine indeed, while we treat with the challenges and the circumstances. But we want to dive right on in this morning. We are speaking NTA, and of course, your responsibility within the context of the politics. And more specifically, we are casually going through what is that leading up to what we know to be an election year. And we want to get a sense from you. What's in the lineup for the NTA?
Well, definitely. What we have done with the NTA was just to provide that window of opportunity for what is deemed as the third constituency of voters, people who are not PNM or UNC till they die. And there's nothing wrong with that. There will be persons who will always want to be supporters of the PNM and the UNC. There have been two very powerful parties that have done a lot towards the development of Trinidad and Tobago. But having said that, there will always be those individuals who would look like something different. They have concerns pertaining to both parties, as anyone has the right to. And those numbers have improved and increased as we have gone along. From 1981, they started with the UNR with 91,000 votes, to the NAR in 1991 with 127,000 votes, to the Congress of the People in 2007 with 147,000 votes. So you're speaking about since 2007, there's never been that opportunity for persons to be really part of a major third constituency. And that would mean that persons up until their early 30s who have been involved in voting only had two choices between the PNM and the UNC. And so what we are providing is that opportunity for that third constituency to be able to be part of the next government.
Mr. Griffith, you're saying that, of course, they want something different from the PNM and the UNC, who are the two major parties right now. And so the NTA provides that opportunity. What about the NTA is so different to the current and existing parties? What are the striking differences?
Yeah. Well, listening last night to Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, she tried to foolishly give the impression that the difference is based on the PNM and UNC being tribal politics, and the third constituency tries to fool people into believing that the PNM and UNC is only about tribal politics. Not true at all. So for Kamala to make that statement last night, it shows her ignorance in understanding and appreciating that third constituency. There are individuals who would have seen the approach of the PNM and the UNC in governance, and they would like to get something different. So what we have will be certain principles that the PNM and the UNC may not adhere to. And I'll give you a perfect example. The biggest concern this country has is national security. The biggest cause of that concern has been both political parties, whilst being in government, aiding and abetting and facilitating criminal elements to get state contracts. That is what caused the spike of crime, where under Basio Pandit was less than 100, and 6 years later, by 2006, it went to over 500. It's because of the PNM and the UNC seeing the concept of giving criminal elements, turn their names into community leaders, give them $5 million to build a $50,000 box drain. They use the profit towards purchasing more weapons, hiring more gang members, putting hits on other gangs to get their state contracts. So that's just a simple example of the principles governing the philosophy of the NTA, where we do not negotiate with criminal elements. We will not turn their names into community leaders and give them state contracts. In fact, there are people with it right now that is causing a problem with our own relationship and forming an alliance, because some of them are very concerned that Gary Griffith being in government is going to prevent them from doing that. This is non-negotiable. So the principles we have for good governance will ensure that we are going to do the right thing and not try to find shortcuts in the hope that you can reduce crime.
All right. We want to get a perspective from you. Many looking on here in Trinidad and Tobago will ask the question, Gary Griffith, is there a real place for a third party in this country? And that comes specifically from the politics, where we have seen third parties form, establish themselves, and as quickly as they form and establish themselves, whether it be financial resources, the commitment, the will, the dedication, the power, or just getting point blank frustrated, they tend to not survive the cause, because ultimately we've got those supporters of the PNM, we've got those supporters of the UNC, and the middle ground when we get to an election time determines who I'm going to support in this circumstance, and then we go back to our daily lives and we don't want to hear about politics. Tell us, is there a real place for the NTA or any third party in the construct of our Trinidad and Tobago dynamics? What's going to be different?
The history has shown The third party, that third constituency, regardless of what you call it, now the names will usually change every few years. It started with ONR, it moved to the NAR, it then moved to the COP, now it's the NTA, and there are other parties as well that form that third constituency. But you have to be foolish to believe to disregard the relevance of that third constituency. What that third constituency would do dictates and directs the results and the outcome of the general election. So, for example, if that third constituency decides to go on their own, it widens the gap for the PNM to win, such as 1981, 1991, and 2007. Anytime that third constituency joins with the UNC or the ULF, it's annihilation for the PNM, such as what took place in 1986 and 2010. So it shows the importance of that third constituency. Because of our constitution that does not allow for a first past the for proportional representation, and you go first past the post, it means now that we may never have that number to win, well, probably for the next few decades. And I'm a realist. The Congress of the People, we were led to believe that we had that capability. We did not. We got 147,000 votes, but by the UNC showing total disrespect to say that they were a knife and fork, they are irrelevant, they need to prove their worth. That caused the PNM to win 25 out of the 41 seats. And the same thing could very well happen in 2025 if we go to a three-horse race. The UNC could very well lose Sanwa, Barataria, Chaguanas West, and Maruga coming back in 25-16. If there's some degree of maturity by the UNC with a political leader who is willing to be humble, embrace and welcome that third constituency, you will get a repeat of the 2010 results. So the point being is that what that third constituency decides to do directs the outcome of the election. That is how powerful and important that third constituency is. Listening to Kamala Prasad-Bissessar last night, it shows that she has not learned a thing pertaining to the importance of that third constituency. That is what caused the collapse of the People's Partnership. The UNC's political leader, as the Prime Minister, figured, look, I have 21 seats, I don't need you, ride out. And that caused the collapse of the People's Partnership. So that is why 14 years later, she cannot win an election, because she's still not able to embrace, appreciate, and welcome that third constituency. That is what Basdio Pandey did in 2000, which is the only time the UNC ever won an election on its own, by doing just that, welcoming and embracing that third constituency. The third constituency is not going to come under the umbrella of the UNC as much as Kamala would like it to happen. But the third constituency having a home now through the NT and other parties, if there's an alliance with the UNC, it will spell an immediate success, such as 1986 and 2010. However, based on the comments made by Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, it showed one of arrogance, of high-handedness, of disrespect to that third constituency, to make comments pertaining to you need to pull your weight. In local parlance, she's fast and out of place, because the NTA, even myself as a political leader, no other political leader walked the length and breadth of Trinidad as I did, walking into the heartland, even in San Fernando and Sangre Grande, to assist the UNC candidates to win their seats. She stayed in her home and watched it. So to speak about third parties not pulling their weight, and to speak about asking them, how did you get as political leader, to show how clueless she is. When Bandit took over Club 88, who made him political leader? When he formed the UNC, who made him political leader? A party now forms, it will take a year or two before you establish yourself to have elections. But to show how petty she is, she's trying to state, well, those third parties didn't have an election to appoint political leaders. That's how the UNC was formed. So Kamala Prasad-Bissessar cannot debate with me on any aspect pertaining to politics. And unfortunately, she's being guided by individuals such as Julie John, who never wanted the alliance. Julie John said prior to the local government to me and to Kamala, we do not need you. We can win on our own. How clueless can you be? The UNC have never been able to win an election on its own other than once, as I mentioned. And that was in 2000, and it lasted a few months. You basically are going down the same road. People like this, they're either plants of the PNM, or you're just clueless in understanding the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. So it is hoped that the UNC can appreciate, welcome, and embrace that third constituency. And if they don't, they're going to be a hat-trick of defeats for the UNC.
All right, Mr. Griffith, we want to say thank you so very much for giving us some insight there.